Today, we're going to deconstruct a really interesting 6th grade lesson plan, all about how to argue. But, this isn't just about winning a debate. It's about a curriculum that teaches logic as a deep reflection of your character, and maybe even your faith.
And really, the entire lesson hinges on this one big question. Is the point of an argument to win, or is it to find the truth? As you'll see, this curriculum has a very, very specific answer. It frames logic not just as some skill you learn in school, but as, well, a moral imperative.
So where does it all start? Well, with the basics, right? The foundation of this whole lesson is a concept that anybody who's ever tried to make a point will get immediately. You need proof. You got to have evidence to make your argument strong. Simple as that.
Okay, so here's a look at how they break it down for a 6th grader. A statement like everyone knows, that gets flagged as an opinion, maybe even a fallacy. But what's interesting here is that both a recent study and, in my experience, are treated as evidence. So right off the bat, the lesson is teaching students to spot the difference and really question what they hear, and, just as importantly, what they say themselves.
And then the lesson gives the students a pretty simple toolkit for finding that evidence. They're basically encouraged to pull from 3 different places: their own life, personal experience, real facts and stats, or quoting what someone else has said. It's a really straightforward, practical approach.
All right, so after learning how to build a strong argument, the lesson flips the script and moves on to spotting the weak ones. This next part is all about identifying those common traps in reasoning, what we call logical fallacies. First up is the straw man. This is such a classic. The idea is, instead of actually engaging with what someone is saying, you create this twisted, weaker version of their argument. That's your straw man. And then you attack that instead. It's basically a way to dodge the real debate. And check out the example they use in the curriculum. It makes it crystal clear. The real argument might be about using phones as a research tool or, for emergencies. But this statement just brushes all that aside and pretends the only reason students want phones is to play games. And that, of course, is a much, much easier thing to argue against. Next, they get into the either-or fallacy. You might have also heard this called a false dilemma. This is when an argument presents only 2 extreme options, like it's a black or white issue, when really there are a ton of possibilities in between. It's a tactic that totally shuts down any kind of nuance or real discussion. And again, they use a really simple, effective example to show how this works. This statement just ignores a whole world of other possibilities, right? Maybe you care a lot about school, but you think uniforms crush individuality. Or maybe it's a financial issue. This fallacy just creates this false world where none of that middle ground even exists.
So, after showing what not to do, the lesson gives a model of what they call strong logic. A statement like, allowing phones teaches students responsibility, is held up as a good example. And why? Because it's a solid, debatable claim that you can actually support with reasons and evidence instead of just twisting things or creating false choices.
Okay, so everything up to this point has been pretty standard stuff you'd find in a public speaking or rhetoric class. But this is where the lesson takes a really unique turn. It's where the curriculum starts to reveal its deeper philosophy, connecting the how of arguing with the why. And here we are at the very heart of the lesson's philosophy, which is laid out in this fluency passage. It completely reframes the whole goal of an argument. It's saying it's not about winning. Instead, a good argument is about building trust and opening hearts. It's positioning logic as a tool for connection, not just for convincing someone you're right. And this chart really makes that distinction super clear. On one side, you've got the loud argument. That's all about winning, twisting facts, using those fallacies we just talked about. But on the other side, you have the logical argument, which is all about revealing truth, being clear, building trust, and that phrase again, opening hearts. Now, to really ground this philosophy, the lesson connects it directly to Scripture. They point to the Apostle Paul, and they make the case that his strength in arguments didn't come from being the loudest guy in the room. It came from clarity, truth, and wisdom. This really reinforces the central idea that this logical style of argument is also the godly one. And here it is, the ultimate takeaway message. This final truth to remember just lays it all out. The core message is that using reason with love and truth isn't just a good skill to have for a test, it's a reflection of the wisdom of God. It really elevates logic from being just a tool to being a virtue. So what's the big why behind teaching logic like this? Well, this curriculum comes from a place called the HeroesMart Academy, and their own mission statement really gives us all the context we need to understand this whole approach. The Academy's philosophy is really direct. They believe that education without morality can actually be harmful.
So their big goal is to help students make good choices, choices that are rooted in a spiritual mindset that they believe leads to peace of mind. And that's exactly why, for them, biblical morality isn't just some other class on the schedule. It's woven right into the fabric of everything they teach, including a subject like logic.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty big final question, doesn't it? What is the ultimate purpose of learning how to argue? Now, this lesson plan gives a very powerful and a very specific answer. It's to reveal truth, to build trust, and to reflect divine wisdom. It kind of challenges all of us to think about how we learn to argue and what we use it for. Is it a weapon for winning, or is it a tool for understanding?